What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, do me a favor and do yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And it also does help to give me a boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. Now, with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we're going to head back into New York City because we have to discuss and get into this news concerning Eric Adams. A new lawsuit was filed against him, an SA lawsuit. And within this lawsuit, it is very, very graphic. The details in this lawsuit are graphic concerning the alleged SA allegations against Eric Adams from a former colleague. Now, this is a woman that Eric Adams claims he does not know, but we'll see how things pan out in the coming days and weeks concerning this case. Now, let's get into the news clip right now for a little bit more detail concerning what's going on with Eric Adams and this SA case that has just been filed against him.
Assault allegations against Mayor Eric Adams by a former police colleague.
She did file a lawsuit today, and we want to warn you, the details are graphic. CBS 2 political reporter Marcia Kramer is here to take us through it all. Marcia.
Well, Christina Maurice, the bombshell allegations date back to 1993, but the allegations are no less jaw-dropping than when they reportedly happened 3 decades ago.
Can we stop right there for a moment? I just want to stop right there. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I already off top don't believe the woman because 30 years is just far too long. Anytime I see something like this and someone is coming around 30, 40, 50 years later, I just don't believe you. I really don't, because at that point, there's no way to prove anything. You can't prove that situation did or didn't happen. It's impossible to prove. So then how do you now turn around 30, 40, 50 years later and want to file a lawsuit against Eric Adams? The logic behind that doesn't make any sense. I can intellectually understand women's perspective when they say it's really hard for them to come forward. So I get it intellectually, not realistically, because I'm not a woman, but I get it through my logical mind that it could be difficult and that it is difficult to come forward. I get that. But 30 years later is just crazy. I just, nah, not 30 years. 30 years, I don't believe you. There's something else going on here at that point.
The Corporation Counsel calls them outrageous. I have to warn you, they are pretty graphic.
We're taking another big step towards our vision for New York City.
Mayor Adams had no idea this morning when he was announcing new funding for electric school buses that he was about to be hit by a suit from a former colleague that could very well throw him under the bus. A woman who worked with Adams when he was a transit cop filed suit charging the mayor with assault, battery, infliction of emotional distress, gender discrimination, retaliation, and harassment.
That's a lot. Wow.
It stemmed from an incident in 1993 when she says she went to him for help with an employment issue.
Let's stop right there. This picture is so suspect. A young Eric Adams with a young Alex Sharpton, that has red flags all over it. Yeah, that's not a good look. That's not a good look, Mayor Adams. It's not a good look at all. Let me rewind that back just a little bit. That's an extremely suspect photo.
It stemmed from an incident in 1993 when
that photo screams sellout all over it. It screams sellout.
It stemmed from an incident in 1993 when she says she went to him for help with an employment issue because he was president of the Guardians Association, a black police officers organization. Among the bombshell allegations, Adams told her he would drive her home, but instead took her to a vacant lot. He told her he wanted oral in exchange for his help. When she refused the suit charges, defendant Adams forcibly pushed plaintiff's hand onto his erect penis, and then, after she removed her hand, masturbated himself to completion and on her.
Okay. Allegedly, Eric Adams offered this woman a ride home. And instead of taking her home, he took her to, what was that? A vacant lot, an empty lot. He said, for you to repay me for this ride, I need you to go down on me. She refused. So instead of that exchange happening, he proceeded to pull out his Johnson and squirted on her. That's a lot to process, and that's a lot to take in. And that is extremely disgusting. And that is just demonic behavior, as far as I'm concerned, if it's true. But the issue is, how do you prove all this 30 years later? And that's why when cases like this pop up, I just really don't believe it. I don't believe it. For as graphic as this sounds, this would have been such an easy open and shut case to solve 30 years ago in 1993. How do you solve this now in 2024? You can't. It's not possible. So at that point, it just comes to hearsay. And I'm not in the business of just believing all women. I don't believe all women. I believe evidence. And do you have any evidence that supports your claim? The answer to that question as of this point, until the court case happens, if it does happen, is most likely no. Because almost any and every time a situation like this comes up, of some lawsuit against a man that essayed a woman 30, 40, 50 years ago, there's almost never any evidence. It's just her word against his. And I'm sorry, in that case where it's just hearsay, I'm not taking your word on it. I need some evidence. But it's impossible for you to have evidence for something like this that happened 30 years ago. And I'm not going to throw another man under the bus and say, oh, yeah, it's true, just because believe all women. That's not logical.
The accusation absolutely did not happen. I don't even recall who this person is. I've never recalled even meeting them. And, you know, I spent my life protecting people.
That was the mayor's reaction last November when the woman initially filed a notice of claim under a special New York Adult Survivors Act signed in 2022 by Governor Hochul, which provided a one-year window for people to bring lawsuits over sexual assaults that may have occurred decades ago. She filed a notice shortly before the 1 year was up and filed the detailed charges today.
She filed the notice shortly before the 1 year was up. Why does she keep doing everything last minute? Why is everything like on the wire? Like, I don't understand that. I file a complaint or a lawsuit 30 years later, and the initial complaint I file almost close to the expiration date that law would expire in and of itself. So everything that she does is last minute. I just find that as funny behavior, to say the very least. It's funny behavior and it's suspect behavior. I'm going to hit you with an essay lawsuit 30 years later, and the initial complaint, you had, about a 1 year window to do it, and you waited all the way up until the last minute to do it. Doesn't sound good to me. Doesn't sound good to me.
City Corporation Counsel Sylvia Hines-Radix issued a statement saying, quote, while we reviewed the complaint, the mayor fully denies these outrageous allegations and the events described here. We expect full vindication in court. The lawyer for the accuser, who now lives in Florida, declined a request for an interview. She said the woman, quote, knew that filing this lawsuit would cause her significant personal challenges, but she did so nevertheless because she believes sexual Abusers must be held to account, no matter who they are. Her fearlessness and quest for justice are as inspiring as they are important. Now, the woman is seeking a jury trial and is said to want millions of dollars in damages.
Really? He wants millions of dollars in damages. Not justice. A justice that she could have received 30 years ago. No. She's looking for millions of dollars in damages. Millions. Says a lot to me. Says a lot to me. I really wish that laws will be put on the books where if you false file, if you false claim, you could actually be put in jail for lying. I really wish there were laws that would actually protect men in that way. And I think that it would actually be beneficial towards women as well. Because if you do find yourself an actual victim of these type of circumstances, if anything, it should be an incentive for you to go to the cops immediately, file a lawsuit immediately, press charges immediately, when you still have all the evidence in the world to back up your claim. One of the things that you'll find with these lawsuits from 30 years ago as well, too, is that they oftentimes are very vague, where they don't remember the time and date of where they were and how things really came about. And I'm willing to bet that that's going to be the case too. She won't be able to give a time and or date of when this situation happened, because to give a time and date means that then Eric Adams' lawyers can go back and look at that time and date and say, hey, Eric Adams wasn't even in town on that date. On that day, Eric Adams was, on the beat. I think the term is called, right? He was on the beat, patrolling and doing X, Y, and Z. So my point is at the end of the day, regardless of how this pans out, whether it gets thrown out, whether Eric Adams is vindicated, whatever the case may be, if she's lying, there will be no repercussion. There will be no justice for Eric Adams. There's no justice for the man in the case where the woman is lying or fabricating things. But as it pertains to the man, when it comes to situations like this, honestly, a lot of times, regardless of how things pan out, it hangs over your head regardless. And you're still looked at as someone who committed a crime that they didn't commit. So we'll see how this pans out. But stuff like this is very annoying to me. Filing an essay lawsuit 30 years later, that's just unacceptable in my book, because you can't prove anything at that point. You can't prove anything. It's just hearsay. And like I said, more times than not, even if Eric Adams is vindicated, he's still going to have to wear that over his head, where the woman will just get to walk off scot-free and we don't even know her name or know who she is. So that does it with that. We'll see how this unfolds as time moves forward. So with all that being said, I want to thank you for watching today's video. Please make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And also make sure you share this video on your social media platforms. And lastly, make sure you follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and will be pinned in the comment section as well. And until the next video, have a great afternoon. Peace.